Top 10 most shocking times worms were seen coming out of animals. Want to win a PlayStation 5? Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Welcome to Animals Wow TV. Today, we'll look at the top 10 most shocking times worms were seen coming out of animals. Stay until number 1. You won't believe what these worms do to a poor caterpillar. Needless to say, warning, graphic videos ahead. Number 10. Worms pop out from dog skin. Worms, maggots, wriggly things. Any name you want to use, these animals can only be seen as gross. And if they're coming out of your pet, a wild animal, even the food you're about to eat, then the gross factor only triples in intensity. Here are the top 10 shocking instances of worms coming out of animals. Again, be warned, really graphic videos ahead. We start with this video of a vet grabbing a bit of a dog's shaved skin and squeezing lightly. As a vet squeezes, we see several things wriggling underneath the skin. Then dozens of squirming maggots pop out through the red sores on the skin. The vet squeezes several more times and the wriggling creatures start to fill up a dish. These worms are the larvae of flies. It can infect both animals and humans. They live underneath the skin for 3 to 5 days until they're ready to pop out. Usually animals get them when they eat rotten food from garbage bins. It's not stated how the dog got the worms though. By the end of the 1-minute video, it looks like all the maggots have been removed, and the dog seems to be okay after the procedure. Phew, all's well that ends well. And as Hagrid said,
better out than in.
Number 9. Larva pulled from kitten's nose. When you think of vets, you think of people who play with cute pets, perhaps giving them shots, but generally taking care of healthy animals. We sometimes forget just how disgusting veterinary can be. Just look at this video of a vet using surgical forceps to remove a gigantic botfly larva from the nostril of an 8-week-old kitten in North Carolina. The kitten was brought to the Animal Care East Veterinary Hospital in Winterville because it was suffering from what the owner thought was a really bad cold. It kept sneezing, dropping mucus, and its right nostril was larger than the left one. The vet sedated the kitten and then examined its nose. That's when they discovered the immense worm. A botfly larva usually grows only to 1 centimeter in length. This poor kitten had one that was twice as big. Botflies are also known as heel flies, warble flies, and gadflies. They lay their eggs in grass or nests. The worms hatch and crawl into the skin or orifice like the nose of passing animals. Then they move further into the animal's body. This botfly was too large to burrow deeper into the kitten's body though. But the owner announced that the kitten was better after the surgery. If we were the owner, we'd make sure the kitten doesn't go near grass ever again. Number 8. Worms in the puppy's eye. Did you know that there's a type of worm that can turn animals blind? Just like the other worms we've seen so far. Our next pest is carried by flies. This time, it's the tiny fruit fly. The infection is called thalassiasis. A lot of cases have been reported in European countries like Britain, France, Greece, Italy, Romania, and Spain. Thalassiasis has been around for a long time. The earliest record dates back to 1910 when 2 scientists saw adult worms in a dog's eye in China. Since dogs love to dig around where flies live, they're more prone to being infected by this worm. What happens is the fruit fly feeds on the eye secretions of animals. As it feeds, it deposits its larvae into the eyes of its victims. The larvae live and even reproduce in different parts of the eyes like the tear canals, the inner lining of the eyelids, and even the lining of the eyeballs. It's actually not hard to notice if a pet has this infection. The eyes become red and inflamed, plus you will see adult worms wriggling and writhing on the eyes themselves. Poor pup. Imagine having dozens of wriggly worms moving in your eyes. Ew. The good news is that the infection can be cured. We say the sooner the better, for the poor puppy's sake. Number 7. Worms in oyster. So imagine this, you're having a great dinner at a seafood restaurant. You order oysters and you get a stack of plump stuff you can't wait to dig in. But you see something wrong with the flesh of one of the oysters. Something is wriggling. It's a live worm. This is what one family discovered in Texas, and apparently it's not an unusual case. Oysters have what they call mudworms. It's usually red and forms a symbiotic relationship with oysters. Yes, this worm and the oyster are actually BFFs. The worm lives inside the shell and creates a muddy blister along the interior edge of the shell. It usually leaves when the oyster is harvested, but sometimes it doesn't get out fast enough. Oyster experts say that a mudworm is actually a sign that the oyster is a fresh harvest and that the worms themselves are harmless. But the big question is, can you still eat the oyster after finding a worm on it? Number 6. Mango worms removed from monkey. Mango worms are the larvae of a mango fly, a species of blowfly. Yep, the same worm from the kitten snows we saw, but this one is native to Africa, and the fly it comes from has several names like tumbu fly, putsi fly, and skin maggot fly. The mango fly lays its eggs in dirt or sand that smell like pee or poo. Basically, it's the toilet of wild animals. So animals inevitably brush across the eggs or the larva. Since it's a botfly, it has a parasitic larva that burrows under the skin of mammals, including this vervet monkey. It's a small black-faced monkey that has a greenish olive or silvery gray body. It's common in Eastern Africa. This one must have been doing its business in the dirt and unknowingly became the host of dozens of mango worms. Come on, worms! The poor thing just wanted to pee. We're halfway through. Are you liking this video? Then please take a moment to like and subscribe to our channel. Remember to hit the notification button for regular updates of our informative and exciting animal videos. Number 5. Botfly pops out of a squirrel. Do you notice anything different in this squirrel? If you say it's actually thin for a squirrel, then you're either not looking hard enough or you're avoiding those large black bumps on its body. Fall isn't just a season to secure food for squirrels. It's also botfly season. Yes, those bumps contain botfly larvae. Like the kitten and every other animal we've seen so far, the worm invades a host and grows inside their bodies. In the case of small animals like squirrels and mice, the worms grow so big that they cause sores on their hosts' bodies. These tube-like sores are called warbles. This is why the botfly is also called warble fly. If you think the kitten case was gross and painful, imagine how uncomfortable this tiny creature must be. Just like in alien and horror movies, the larva eats its way out of its host and pops out when it's ready. In other words, it builds those tubes so it has an easy way to exit from its host and fall to the ground. But even though the sores look awful, the botfly rarely kills the host even though it has spines on its body that dig deep into its host's skin. But even though it leaves its host, once it reaches sexual maturity, it finds another animal that will be the host of its babies. So no mammal is ever safe. Number 4. Worm found on salmon. We've shown you a worm from a freshly opened oyster. Now here's something for sashimi lovers out there. You may think that animals that have been processed and put into packages are safe from these wriggly things. That's a big fat nope. A few years ago, a Costco in New York became viral when a customer uploaded a video of a live and long worm slithering across a package of a salmon. According to reports, the buyer was already at the checkout line when a guy noticed something on the package. They looked closer and saw it was a live worm. This wasn't the first time that a Costco fish package has had a worm. Another shopper found a salmon worm in San Diego in 2017. There's a reason why sashimi restaurants have strict rules about food safety and chefs get angry when the fish isn't cooked.
Touch that!
Yeah, it's cold.
Touch it! Come here! It's cold and raw! I'm done. I'm fucking done. Get out!
But just like the oysters, worms and fresh fish are considered normal. But still, would you still want to eat salmon sashimi after this? Number 3. Worm in snail size. If you're a gardener, then a snail is the last thing you want in your garden. But did you know that snails actually have a tough life? You see, there's a parasitic worm called Leucochloridium that basically turns snails into zombies. Notice how this snail's eye stalks seem different? Those are actually the worms that have invaded the snail. How the snail got the worm is a vicious cycle. The worm actually breeds in the bird's guts, so its eggs become part of the bird's poop. The eggs get eaten up by a snail. When the eggs hatch, they latch onto the snail's eye stalks and mind controls the snail to slither out into the open. When it's exposed, a bird plucks out the snail's eyes, thus eating the worm, and the cycle continues. Vicious, huh? That's Mother Nature for ya. Number 2. Worm poking out of a dog. There is a reason why vets recommend deworming our pets regularly. Roundworms, hookworms, whipworms, our pets can get so many worms, but one of the most common is the tapeworm, which a dog gets by eating a host like a flea. Once a dog eats the infected host, the tapeworm eggs develop into adults in the dog's small intestine. Adult tapeworms usually measure from 4 to 28 inches. It's actually made up of small segments called proglottid. A proglottid segment can sometimes be seen crawling near the anus of a dog, like in this video. If your pet develops a habit of scooting his rump across the ground or any rough surface, then there's a good chance it has worms. Fortunately, deworming medicines work really well and fast too. So have you looked at your dog's anus lately? And last but not the least, number 1. Worms burst from caterpillar. Everyone knows that caterpillars transform into beautiful butterflies, but not everyone knows that parasitic wasps stop this transformation in a very nasty way. The wasps lay eggs on or inside the caterpillars. Just like a botfly larva, the parasitic wasp's larva grows inside the caterpillar. Since it needs its host to live, it doesn't do a lot of damage at first. But just like the story of the squirrel and the botfly, the worms grow bigger and bigger and bigger until, when the worms are ready to break out, they release chemicals that paralyze the caterpillar. Then they use their saw-like teeth to eat their way through the thick caterpillar skin. Despite this gruesome event, some caterpillars don't actually die from the exit wounds. But that's not actually something to be happy about. I mean, would you be happy if several worms just burst out of you? And there you have it. Our top 10 most shocking times worms were seen coming out of animals. Thanks for watching! Don't forget to click that like button, subscribe to our channel, and leave a message for a chance to win a PlayStation 5. And while you're here, check out our video of the top 10 dangerous animals you should never touch.